You're now listening to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. Straightforward, no nonsense business advice. Completely unfiltered. Grow your business. Grow your life. Now, here's your host, Brian Fullerton.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. It is your host, Brian Fullerton, here, hanging with you guys. Well, good morning. Well, happy Monday morning to all of you guys that are out and about. Perhaps you guys are finishing up some of your last cuts for the season. Maybe some of you guys are getting into transition mode here to do some leaf cleanups going into the next couple of weeks. And quite honestly, some of you guys are still mowing. You guys are still mowing down south, down in Florida. You guys are year-round mowing, kind of businesses. And gosh, I was talking to somebody the other day. I'm like, what would it be like to mow year round? It's just literally not even a thought up here. Obviously, we do snow removal in the Midwest, but I was like, man, we kind of look forward to the break, into the season changing with getting done with our 6, 7, 8 month long season and run. But I was like, man, it would just kind of feel like it would drag on forever and draw out forever. But that could be a good thing too for cash flow and having good maintenance business and good recurring income, On today's topic of this podcast episode, I wanted to talk about all things battery and just kind of share my thoughts, my opinion, just kind of weigh in for a little bit. I've actually had a lot of people ask me my opinions, my thoughts behind the scenes, and, specifically with the mowers, with the autonomous mowers, the, what did Caleb Allman call them on that Friday panel at the live panel at the GIE Plus Expo, little frisbees running around. I think that's what he called them. So, Caleb's probably not wrong, but I just like giving him a hard time in the meantime because I feel like he thinks the robot overlords are taking over. I don't know if that's true or not true. Caleb is funny. He's on Instagram. He's always like rebuttaling and talking junk in a good way, which is funny. And he's like, they're coming, man. I'm gonna be the first one to admit they're coming, and all you mow guys, you're out of business. And he's probably not wrong in some regard, but I don't know if it's going to be here as quickly as he thinks or some of the other people in the industry think. But I do think that they have a role in the industry. That's a fact. So I wrote down a couple things here. I want to talk about battery powered mowers, autonomous mowers, battery handheld equipment, which I think is kind of taking the industry by storm. And I think that's a more realistic talking point for adoption for the commercial contractor guys, right? While we're talking about it, I want to talk about autonomous. I want to talk about charging, and then just some different ideas where I do see, the battery powered equipment, really taking some stride and taking some market share from, communities that have noise ordinances, places like California, places that have green, green incentives, if you will. If, different things get passed at the government level with this, budget reconciliation and whatever it's all called, all this stuff that's getting passed. There's going to be, whether you like it or not, if it passes, there's going to be incentives, if you will, to go green and do different things and adopt different things and R&D grants and credits and all this other mess. So if the money's out there, maybe, don't just shrug, try to look for the positive in anything that's going on, right? So that's what I want to talk about. Just short and sweet. I want to talk about battery powered equipment, which is funny because if you guys know my public stance on it, I am not a big battery person. I think there's a big difference between battery-powered OPE and a Tesla battery-powered vehicle. Okay, it's not the same by any way, shape, or form. What you see in a Tesla compared to a gas-powered vehicle, it's not even like comparable. You know what I mean? It's not even in the same galaxy. And I'm not saying that as a Tesla fanboy, as somebody who owns a Tesla now. It's not even in the same galaxy in terms of performance, safety, quality. And I'm not saying Tesla. I'm saying battery powered vehicles. They're just an eon ahead of gas vehicles, right? It's just, there's no debate. Okay. There's no debate there. If you're still wondering, a couple quick Google searches and you'll see all the drag races, the power to weight ratios, the efficiencies of an electric motor versus a combustion engine. The nail's in the coffin with that conversation. Now, here's the deal. I've been on record saying many, many a time, my perspective is that gas versus electric OPE, outdoor power equipment, you don't see that same transformative leap, in terms of technology, performance, value, right? So on and so forth. Like, for example, an Audi A8L turbo diesel 110 grand versus a Tesla Model X, Model S Plaid, around the same price point. Both absolutely incredible vehicles. The Tesla Plaid is still going to outperform the Audi, even though I'm a big Audi guy too. Okay. But when you look at a $15,000 Laser Z X, X series, and then you look at a $25,000, $30,000, mean green mowers, I don't see the double price premium, right, being worth the price. Let's just be honest, right? So that's what I want to talk about. Now, before I go through this whole rant, we're going to hear from today's show sponsors and hear a little bit more about what's going on with Launchpreneur Academy, the whole Ball of Wax bundle that we're going to be possibly running a promotion on for Black Friday, and a little bit more of this. But one thing I will say while I go through this whole conversation, please don't shoot me like 500 emails with all of your cost benefit analysis breakdowns and Excel and formula charts and numbers on your Mac. Look, I know a lot of you guys have ran the numbers, and that is helpful conversation. But to me, it's still not a total like tipping point yet for battery over gas. I hear you. If you want to scream till you're blue in the face that battery is the future, that's awesome. Like, do it on your content. I'm just sharing. Honestly, I'm just sharing my point. I'm not even saying I'm right. I'm not saying I'm wrong. It's just a conversation. Okay. So I don't want you guys to be like, Fullerton, what are you talking about? Battery power equipment is like 10 times better. I've ran the numbers. And if you put 6,000 hours on a chassis for a lawnmower, like just do some simple math. Like the numbers are right in front of you. You could be right. You could be true. I'm not denying that. Okay. So just for the record, I'm not getting argumentative. You might be right. I'm not saying I'm right. Okay. So I just wanted to talk about where I see this equipment coming into the industry. Okay. That's all I'm talking about. Like, where are we at on the timeline? Are our jobs at risk? They're taking our jobs. Where are we at in the next 2, 5, 10 years? Is this stuff coming like 18 months from now? We all need to be little robot installer technicians. Is this 10 years out from now and it's the next horse and buggy whip business type of story where everybody was like, those horse things will never catch on, and or those horseless carriages, they'll never catch on, and then 25, 30 years later, all the horse and buggy whip businesses are out of business. I talked about that on an earlier episode, probably about 18 months ago. I don't know. That's my point. So here's what we're going to do. Let's hear from today's show sponsors, and then I want to talk for just a few minutes about these 4 or 5 categories, weigh in pretty quick on these, give my thoughts and opinions. And again, love to hear your guys' thoughts. Shoot me a DM, shoot me, a repost on Instagram, maybe leave me a comment on one of the next YouTube videos that you guys watch or something, and weigh in, say, hey, heard your podcast, battery's here to stay, and you have no idea what you're talking about, which is probably true. So any which way, appreciate the support as always. Let's do this really quick. I'm having a blast over here. We're getting ready for Launchpreneur Academy this week. We got a lot going on behind the scenes. I'm truck shopping. I'm still trying to find a truck. I've actually got a couple leads I'm trying to follow up on literally today and tomorrow. Praying that I'm buying a truck. We'll find out. If you guys want to set up a quick prayer and just be in agreement that we can find something, I'll receive that and I'll take that right now. All right. So let's do this really quick. Let's kick it over to Marty, Mr. Producer, the best producer in the biz. I've been going so hot lately. I haven't been able to give him the attaboys and the dues that he deserves. We, like I said, last month, October, had our best month ever, and we couldn't do that without somebody like Mr. Producer, Marty, running the podcast, running the show, helping us to make sure that all of our ducks are in a row, and that we've got the ads on time. We've got the schedule on time. We've got the podcast dropping Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 6 or 7 a.m. like without fail. We couldn't do it without him. All right. So if you guys want to leave a 5-star rating and review and give Marty, Mr. Producer, a shout out and say thanks for all the work that he's doing. If you guys appreciate him, hey, if you don't want to leave a 5-star review for me, I get it. I'm kind of a butthead sometimes. Leave one for him. Okay. He's the one that's bringing it from my mouth to your ears. So let's just say a big thank you to Marty, Mr. Producer, on the next review. Let's check it out.
As always, my friend, thank you for the kind words. Hey, it's Marty. I don't know if you caught Brian's message at the tail end of Friday's podcast, but your final opportunity to grab tickets for Launchpreneur Academy Live is Monday, November 8th before 7 p.m. Eastern Time. In fact, here's what Brian had to say.
Tickets are going offline Monday, November 8th at 7 p.m. Do not procrastinate. Do not email me Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I got my mind in 100 other places to get ready for the event. I say that with love. And we absolutely cannot wait to host you at Launchpreneur Academy Live 2021. You guys excited? You guys fired up? All right. I'm grinning ear to ear. We're just getting started. It's going to be a barn burner, all right?
If I were you and you don't have tickets yet, I'd pause the podcast right now, click the link in the description for the Entrepreneur Academy, and then pray hard that there's a few tickets left.
All right, guys, well, let's jump into it to go through these 5 or 6 talking points I had again. Battery-powered zero-turn mowers, autonomous mowers, battery handheld equipment, the auto mowers, charging, and then incentives, okay? Those are the couple notes I wrote down. I don't have any sub-notes. I don't have any point 1, point 1A, point 1B, point 1C, point 2A1, oh, man. I'm not that kind of a guy, but I am a detail person. I make lists sometimes, but I'm not that detailed on the list. Okay. So talking about battery powered zero-turn mowers, I think it's a really good idea. I just really do. The more that my mind marinates on the idea, and I looked at GIE Plus Expo. GIE Plus Expo was really the revealing. What would you guys say that were there? It was I think the industry is going to go that way, whether we like it or not, as contractors and I guess professional consumers, right? Like we're the ones buying this stuff, but the regulation from the governments, from local towns to cities to states to the federal government to noise and noise pollution, all this other mess. I really do see the battery being a good alternative. And I'm not some greenie. I'll just tell you guys that. I know I'm a green, in the green industry. I'm a landscaper. I have a Tesla. Trust me. I didn't buy a Tesla to go save a bunch of trees. Okay. I bought it because it's safe, it's fast, and it's friggin' cool. Okay. The doors are just a lot of fun to look at. And even more fun is when like a 15-year-old or 10-year-old boy like runs up and he goes, "Oh my God, that's a Tesla." And then the wings go up. Like that's like, I don't know why. It's just fun. It's cool. And I was that 10-year-old boy one day, way back in the day, and I wanted a cool car. I got the cool car. That was the end of the story. In fact, I got some Starbucks this morning for the wife, and it was funny. The drive-through was right up front where the door is for the exit of the Starbucks, and like 40-year-old people all walked out at once, and this guy goes, "Holy crap, that's a Tesla!" So I guess it's still cool. I don't know, but I don't know if you guys think the Tesla is cool. I don't know. You guys are probably going to go get yours, so keep the hammer down, man. You can make it happen. Well, talking about battery-powered zero-turn mowers, when we were at GIE Plus Expo, I think I heard Caleb Allman even say, or maybe Paul Jameson on a podcast say recently, that I don't think there was a single booth for real that had, any substantial OPE that didn't have a battery powered version, option, new reveal, something in the next 12, 18, 24 months, from autonomous to whatever. I don't think there was a single mower manufacturer that didn't have something battery related or battery powered on the showroom floor, or as what do you call it, like a prototype. Okay, so it was actually really like revealing. And then not only that, all the engine manufacturers. I saw at the Vanguard booth, for example, they had a bunch of Vanguard batteries and a couple shells of lawnmower frames, like where they would mount, and the computers and the electronics to monitor all the batteries, right? It's actually pretty cool. It's actually pretty cool. Now, here's the thing. When we're talking about the battery zero-turn mowers, my biggest bottleneck as somebody who owns a Tesla is the charging. Okay, period, case closed. When you have a 110 outlet like we do, we get 1% per hour at our home. It costs me about $50 to $100 a month to charge this thing. It's so minuscule. It's nothing. It charges overnight. The rates are low, and we don't even have an EV meter. Okay, if you have an EV installed meter, it's like half of that or a third of that. Okay, it's super. I don't know. It's a great value to charge a vehicle overnight because the energy rates and costs are extremely low per kilowatt hour, or whatever you call it. So we have 110, which is like your regular plug outlet. So it's 1% per hour on my Tesla. Now, when we're building our custom home, we have two 50 amp circuits going in to charge two Teslas. In case there's a Roadster or a truck, or maybe some like Suburban or Tahoe, Lord knows that we would love to have an Escalade like version of a Tesla, because when you have 3 kids, you're not fitting more than 2 kids in a Tesla Model X. Okay. So we're like, let's have kids, but let's not have them too fast. Like hopefully Elon in the next like 3 to 5 years can bring out a Tahoe, because I know it sounds like first world problems here, but I refuse to buy a Tahoe or a Yukon. I'm not a GM Chevy guy. I'm just not. Okay. That's a whole nother story for a whole nother time. That's why I'm a big Ford guy. Okay. So if we do get a bigger vehicle, we're going to be stuck with like a Navigator, or I don't even know what else is out there, right? One of those deals. So here's the deal. A 220 outlet, or 240 or whatever you want to call it, the 220 can charge instead of 1% per hour, you can charge 60, 70, 80% of your battery in, 3 to 4 hours, 3 to 6 hours. They say like basically over the 7 or 8 hour window, you can charge your Tesla up overnight. Now, Liz and I don't do a lot of commuting. Okay, we put, I think, 8,000 miles on the Tesla since December. So in 11 months, 8,000 miles, we barely use it. I probably put 1,500 miles on it the first 2 weeks, just driving it around and showing up with my friends and my family, right? Like you guys probably do with your new cars, because it's fun, it's cool. But since then, like we don't drive a lot. We don't do a lot of stuff, believe it or not. Now, here's the deal. Here's the question I propose. How many of y'all got 110 at your shops or at your garage or have your trailer parked out front or on the side of your house or at the yard? Maybe 60, 70% of us. Like, for example, at my storage locker, there's no electricity in the whole place. There's no lights. There's no fans. There's no plugs. There is no hose bibs like to hook up to for washing anything. It's just literally outdoor storage. So that already right there is kind of a bottleneck. But number two, let's say you have a 220. And that's the next question. How many garages and shops have 220? Like, for example, we're in like a newer apartment. It's 2 years old now. They didn't even put a 220 in this garage. Like, I called up a Tesla certified installer person. He's like, it's gonna be like $3,000 to $4,000 to install that in that new place, dude, because you got to run the wires and to the breaker box, then out to the meter. If it doesn't have a spot for meter, I got to put a whole new row of meters. Oh, it's massive, and it's like $4,000. And I called my apartment complex people and I said, why didn't you make these things EV ready? Tesla or otherwise, everybody's got Chevy Volts and Bolts or whatever, Priuses, Teslas, Model 3s. It's not, electric vehicles or whatever 25 years ago. Like, they're mainstream, right? And so the long story short is this place is brand new construction, doesn't even have 220. And so how many shops have 220? Does your shop have 220? Are you going to go pay $200, $500, or $1,000 premium to have an electrician run a 220 line? Can you run a 220 line? Are you going to be able to put one in your shop? Right? So the whole point is the battery powered mowers, in my opinion, it's just like the Teslas. Tesla was smart enough to not only build the electric vehicles, but they built the electric charging network, all the superchargers and all the Tesla superchargers right across the country at every Meijer, every other like gas station, some of the call them destination chargers with like fine dining and steakhouses and like Sheraton's and Marriott hotels, right? The airports have them. So they built the infrastructure to boot, which is genius, right? What are you going to do with your electric powered lawnmower if you don't have 220? Because here's why. You're only going to get 1% per hour on these batteries. And I don't know the capacity of the batteries, right? Let's say they're 12, 15, 20 kilowatt hour batteries. I don't know, but the bottleneck is going to be charging. And if you have 110, it's going to take, 12, 16, 18, 20 hours to charge these things. Nobody's got that kind of leeway time overnight. That's why I'm not a big believer that battery powered equipment is like here just yet. Now, the handheld stuff, yes, I'll get to that in a second. The big zero turn mowers, I don't know. Now, I was talking to the Toro reps, and don't quote me. I was talking to one of the guys outside, super cool dude, and he was saying something like 12 hours of charging on a 110, get you, 6 to 8 hours of runtime during the day. That's not bad, right? They're all kind of probably touting around the same stuff. They probably have similar but different tech. But imagine this. You're mowing from 7 to 7 or 7 to 5 every day, 8 to 5. And I know you're not putting straight 9 hours of mow time on it. Like they call it 6 hours of mow time. But per day, you're probably putting 4, 5, 8 hours of run time on that mower out of your 8, 10, 12 hour day, right? Like I think you guys all understand we're not having the blades engaged the whole time you're out and about for an 8 or 10 hour day. So they might get lucky there. Like they're like, hey, we got 7 hours of mow time. Well, what if you got some of those guys that mow 12, 14 hours a day? Might not work. If you mow 4 or 5 hours a day, it might work. But here's the deal. You're not coming back in that rig until 6, 7 o'clock at night. At least that's us in the spring. I mean, and then until probably, I'd say June, maybe July. We don't really taper on the season until, well, this year we did because this is the worst, most physical year we've ever had in the business in 16 years. But that's my point. You're gone for 12 to 14, 15 hours a day. Are you going to be able to charge this thing for 5, 6, 8 hours a night and get that battery topped off to recharge? Probably not. Are you going to have access to 220? Probably not. So I'm not here to pee all over the parade of anybody who's a big battery proponent for the mowers. I'm just asking a logical question. How are we going to charge these things? As somebody who has a Tesla, Liz and I bought this thing knowing that we are not going to have access to 220 for probably 2 years. The year we're here and the year we're building our house, which is this next 12 months. We knew that. I have to go fill up at the supercharger probably once every month or two if we have a bunch of trips back to back to back where we really kill the battery over, a 3 or 4 day window. And that's fine. But you're not going to find a lawnmower supercharger anywhere around town. Not unless there is and I'm not saying there's any people that are adverse to each other in the industry, like Toro versus Wright and Wright versus Ferris and Ferris versus Bobcat. But here's the deal. Those 12, 15 mower brands would have to literally come together for a standardized, whatever you want to call it, battery, a standardized whatever port, a standardized whatever charger, a standardized whatever charging rate. And this is all stuff way above my pay grade, right? What do you think the odds of Toro partnering up with, Bobcat and Bobcat partnering up with Wright and all these guys actually coming together and talking the benefit to build one system for everybody? Probably very, very slim chance. And that's fine. That's competition. Arguably, why would they? And Tesla did that. Tesla said, hey, GM, hey, Volkswagen, we'll come together. We'll build one huge EV charging network. And they all literally laughed Tesla out of the room. So instead, Tesla built their own supercharger network, and they have arguably the best supercharger network in the whole country. And they are valued more than all of the freaking car makers combined right now. Literally. So what are you going to say to that? I just don't see the charging and the performance. Well, maybe not the performance, but the battery life working for a battery powered zero turn mower. Okay. And here's the thing. And I mean this all with love. The people that do send me the cost analysis and the breakdowns and the charts and all this mess, they are typically within their 1, 2, 3 years in business, and they're not mowing 100, 120 clients a week. It's not an indictment. It's not a put down. Relax. I'm your friend. I'm just saying a lot of people see the benefit and they want to go green or have a green business, and they have solar panels on the trailer and they're marketing green and they're charging a premium for it. They're doing everything right. That's a smart, cool business model. I think that's really, really cool. As long as you can get that premium for all of your battery powered everything, that's a sweet business model. There's people that I've heard on Paul Jameson's podcast that have businesses like that. But I'm not hearing those people saying we're mowing 150 lawns a week with a battery powered mower. Okay. And I'm not being a jerk. I'm not calling anybody out. I'm not saying I do more work and you do less work. None of that. I'm just saying, I don't hear anybody saying, yeah, we're mowing 150 lawns a week with our mean green mowers. And again, it's not even the amount of lawns, right? It's the amount of run time and the amount of actual square foot we're all mowing. But my point is, I don't hear anybody saying, I'm mowing 125 lawns a week with a mean green or 125 lawns a week with a Toro Revolt or whatever it's going to be called. Because how do you charge it and then use it? Charge it and then use it. So not to beat a dead horse, but I really wanted to cover this at length, because if you guys are out there thinking, I'm going to go get this mower, and then you realize you're going to have to charge it for 16 hours a day or 12 hours a day. I mean, my equipment barely sits in certain parts of the season for 12 hours. There's many a times we mow till 8, 9, 10 p.m., literally in the summer. You get behind, you get some rain days, right? And the next morning we're picking up the rig at 6, 7 a.m. and we're already back out there at 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. And you're like, well, that only happens 1, 2, 10 times. Yeah, it happens 1, 2, 10 times. And out of 160 working days per year, that's 16% of the time my batteries might not be fully charged, right? And if it's not dead by that morning and I only get a 60% charge, it's going to be dead by 2 p.m. So that's just my apprehension. I'm not, again, Toro was saying that they're going to have a 2 or 3 kilowatt per hour charger. Don't quote me. I'm not holding them to anything, blah, blah, blah. I'm just saying, if you have a 220, that's what they're looking to get to with a 3 or 4 kilowatt per hour charger, right? Then you might be able to charge those batteries quicker. But I say this with love. How many people have a 220 in their garage right now? How many people have a 220 at their shop? How many people are willing to spend $1,500 after you just dropped a 6 to 10 grand premium on that zero turn mower? And then, you got to go drop another $1,500 on a charger in the garage, or the 220 wiring it up with an electrician. I'm just asking. I'm just talking out loud. I just try to see things through and think things through. And I did a lot of seeing and thinking through with us buying this Tesla. It's a stupid $100,000 car. And I'm like, hey, we can buy it, but we might not be able to charge it. And I'm trying to find an electrician to put a 220 in and all this mess, right? So I've probably thought the EV thing through as much, or probably as much as anybody you know. I'm just, unless it's actually one of the companies. Okay. So I'm not saying I'm qualified to talk about this. I'm just saying like, I've really thought EV stuff for a few minutes, like through, okay? We're building our future house, like with design to grow into it with EV stuff. You know what I mean? All right. So battery powered zero turn mowers. Now here's the thing, performance wise, I think they're going to be great. You got like 5 moving things, right? You've got the drive motors and you got 3 deck motors. Okay. You want to talk about the thing I love the most about my Tesla? There's no fuel. There's no liquids. There's no transmission fluid. There's no oils. There's no nothing. There's no belts. And if you're not on the Tesla bandwagon, I'm not trying to sell you a Tesla. If you want to buy a Tesla, you want to use my referral code. I think I get like, a nickel. I don't even know what you get, but we do have a Tesla code and we've had like 11 referrals or something. So, so a lot of you guys want to get a Model 3 and shout out to David Fuller. He was trying to buy one. I'm like, nah, not yet. Keep reinvesting in your business, but shout out to David down in Ohio. But here's the deal. The thing I love the most about the Tesla is besides charging it overnight, and never having to have my wife bug me at 8 a.m, say, hey, can you go to the gas station and fill it up? I left the car on a 16th of a gallon of gas, or 16th of a tank of gas. And can you just go fill it up? It's 20 degrees out. I got to go somewhere in the morning. Does your wife do the same thing? I'll tell you what, you want to solve some fights in your marriage, buy a Tesla and you'll never have to worry about having an empty tank ever when you get in your car. Because let's listen to the podcast anyway. But for 6 or 7 years, I'm not talking junk. I'm just saying for 6-7 years, every other 3 days, I had to go fill up Liz's Jetta and then my own car because hers would be empty. She would take mine. I get back in my car in the morning and my other Infiniti at the time would have an empty tank. Maybe you guys are laughing right now because this happens to you. I swear to God. So for 12 months now, 11 months now, haven't had to worry about an empty tank because we charge it overnight. But besides the charging it overnight thing and never having to go into the car in the morning with an empty tank, for real, which is a pretty cool thing, there's no fluids. Like literally, there's no fluids on that thing, I think, besides windshield wiper fluid. So let's talk about for mowers. There was like, well, there's no grease, there's greaseless spindles and there's no Zerk fittings anymore for greasing whatever. Everything's bushings and this and that and 40% less parts. How about 90% less parts? How about 90% less moving things? That's a fair statement or a fair assessment from a lot of these battery powered brands and mowers, right? I mean, you have 3 motors for the deck belts or the blades, the spindles, and you have 2 drive motors. What else do you need? I think that's freaking awesome. So in terms of like less downtime, less maintenance, less this, less that, EV or electric, whatever you want to call it, all the way. Okay. Those motors I feel would probably keep up very well or better in wet grass and extreme mowing conditions than a gas powered motor. That's why I like EFI, because you got the governor, it doesn't let the engine droop, right? So it's better in wet, tall grass. Okay. Unfortunately, the algorithm doesn't know to promote this video more because now I said wet, tall grass or overgrown grass. So I don't get, a billion views on YouTube like the juggernaut. But anyway, just having some fun there. But in wet, tall grass, an EFI motor is going to be the way to go versus a carbureted engine that's going to get bogged down. With an EV or electric motor, you don't get that bogged down. It's instant torque. You're rock and roll. You got a millisecond. It's up to speed. It's up to torque. The torque on an electric motor is going to smoke a gas-powered engine, period, case closed, and be more efficient at the same time. I think that's a win. You're mowing some wet, tall grass. I think the electric motor is going to win out. I'd love to start doing some more like case studies like this, but there's only 1 or 2 brands. So that's what I'm saying. Next 12, 18, 24 months, I've said no to like almost everything battery on my channel. I'm like, I don't want to see it. I don't want to hear the word battery one more time. But that could change because the tech is finally catching up. And that's the point of this conversation. Okay. So I think zero turn mowers have a huge opportunity to go electric. I think the biggest bottleneck is the charging. They know it. You know it. I know it. But I think in arguably any other thing you want to weigh out is that the electric powered lawnmowers would be a superior product. I just really do. From the less parts, less maintenance, higher performance, they're faster. I mean, imagine transport mode on a Bobcat 17 miles an hour for some of their like Quick Cats or the 7000 series or whatever, or 13 miles an hour for some of the other motors with the hydro pumps. They could literally put a transport mode for these electric motors, override them, let the computer tell them to run them a little bit faster, a little bit more hot. And these things could have 15, 18, 20 miles an hour ground speed in transport mode. That is time and money. I mean, it really is. It doesn't sound like it, but you're shuttling house to house in subdivisions, or you're trying to get across campus on a university or a library or a college, university. That could be huge with letting these things just rip like little go-karts around the whole property. Okay. So, all right, let's do this really quick. I want to spend the most time on that because I think it's the thing that is the most obvious, right? The zero-turn mowers. I think that's the most obvious. I got auto mowers, battery handheld, autonomous charging, and then some incentives. We're going to talk about those here for the next couple minutes. I'm going to get a sip of water. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come right on back and talk about these other topics right now.
You've heard Caleb and Brittany Allman talking about the Hardscape Academy, but have you checked it out for yourself? The hardscapeacademy.com is the place to get the skills and training you and your crew need to excel as a professional hardscaper. You'll learn all the techniques and best practices to properly install pavers and retaining walls. You'll have access to online video training courses, in-person apprenticeships, comprehensive guides, and customizable business forms. Plus, there are 2 free courses which cover everything slab, from initial planning to final installation, and again, those are absolutely free. If you're serious about mastering your skills, abilities, efficiency, and bottom line, the hardscapeacademy.com is for you, and that link is in today's show notes.
All right, guys. Well, we are going to jump right back into it. So the auto mowers, I'm going to go with auto mowers, talking about like the IMO and I don't know the name of all of them. Okay. The Echo has their little auto mower. The Husqvarna's got their own little auto mower. Gosh, honestly, I saw probably 10 other brands of these little auto mowers. I think these are the Frisbees that Caleb's talking about. Now, I think the auto mowers have a huge opportunity in a lot of different applications, right? I think that some accounts are going to come and some accounts are going to go because of these things, right? For example, like Caleb's point is true when he's talking about the pointlessness of mowing like 10-acre properties. We like seeing stripes, and as a contractor, those are typically done by homeowners anyway. But I think it is a fair assessment to say if somebody can buy one of these things for $2, $3, $4, $5 grand. Run the stupid little invisible fence or whatever you want to call it. And these little Frisbees can go out there and just mow 1, 2, 5, 10 acres once a day and just take off a little 1/18 of or 1/16 of an inch or 1/4 of an inch per day with their little razor blade cuts. I think that makes sense. I mean, imagine so here's the interesting thing. Everybody's like, the money's in commercial. The money's in commercial. Well, and I'll just try to play good cop, bad cop. I could see all those universities easily dropping the $50,000, having Steel or Husqvarna or these kind of people come in, run all the lines, and have these little Frisbees out there all day long. I really do. I could see commercial like industrial parks, Amazon distribution centers, universities, old folks' homes, retirement communities, I think is the politically correct way to say that. Who cares? It's unfiltered. I think those would be the first couple places to adopt these kind of Frisbees, as Caleb's talking about. The other side is the homeowners. I mean, there's a lot of folks that maybe not in subdivision America, but maybe they got some rural properties or they got some space. I mean, maybe even in the subdivisions, and for $2, $3, $4 grand, they come in and some, technician who's knows how to install these things and trained properly. And maybe that might even be us listening. Maybe that's the future of what we all do. I don't know. Is everyone going to be a robot tech installer? I don't know. That's the conversation I want to have is, what's the role? Are we going to be installing these things? Are we going to be, having one guy with, pulls up with a flatbed and 20 things go out and, locate the property that's flagged, and, you can go mow 5 lawns all at once because you got 5 Frisbees that all do 5 different lawns. And so you got one on one property, one on another, and you're just trimming and blowing and hopscotching along as you like deploy the drones. I don't know. That could be kind of a cool tech. So just like with automation, there used to be, 20 people screwing on bumpers at a factory. Now there's 4 robots and one guy doing some final like touch and go work, right? Maybe that could be, there's 100,000 lawn care professionals and now we need 20,000 of them. And those other 80,000, try to either be the 20,000 or the other 80, retool and go get a different job and a different skill. I don't know. That's where I'm wondering, like, it's the horse and buggy whip people, right? I mean, those people mocked cars, and instead of like adopting or changing or growing with the times, they just were out of business 2, 5, 10 years later, or retired or moved on or whatever, right? So I think auto mowers have a very, very real opportunity to replace a lot of work and jobs that people just don't want to do. It's tough because I think where they would be the most opportunistic would be like on the off ramps and on the the embankments on highways and all that stuff. I mean, every single town and city has those big John Deere tractors or the green ones or the blue ones, or these Yanmars and these Kubotas with the big full enclosed cab, for ticks and bugs, and 90 degrees out, and they're mowing the power lines and all the commons, underneath there. I don't know. I mean, to me, that would make the most sense along highways and all the power lines, but my biggest question is always, maybe you guys have ever thought this too, like, what's preventing somebody from stealing these stupid things? We're going to low jack it. You're going to put a little GPS tracker in it. I think you would have to do that at a minimum, because these little automowers, because they replace so much, they're going to charge $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 for them. They're not going to sell them to you for $1,000, even though they probably could. So they're going to be $4,500. But what's going to stop somebody from jacking these things, ripping out the little GPS, a little SIM card or whatever it is? Maybe they'll have a GPS track it. I don't know. And then either just throwing that thing in the local habitat, shooting it, or throwing it in the garbage. Or I'm being serious, but I'm being funny, but I'm also trying to be serious too. I don't know what's going to stop people from just taking these things. Are they going to be electrified? Like, I don't know. So, look, I'm being funny, but at the same point, where they're going to fit in, I don't know. I could see them for universities and hospitals and those kind of places. They don't need to have loud, rambunctious, mowers and trimmers and blowers there the whole time. But you're just not going to get the same level of quality from those little Frisbees running around as you will a lawn care professional. From the new guy who's 18 and doesn't know how to spell lawn care to the guy who's been doing it for 25 years and he's Paul Carrera. I don't think you're going to get the same quality of service. You're not going to get the leaf cleanups. You're not going to get the stripes. You're not going to get the weeding. You're not going to get the sprinkler irrigation turned on and turned off, right? So I guess that leads to the next question. Is everybody just going to turn into a landscape professional, right? If all the mowers are taking over, like Caleb says, which he's probably not wrong, I'm just having some fun, but he's probably not wrong. Does that mean that we all turn into landscape professionals and the Frisbees are mowing the lawns and we all trim and blow? Or we all just stick to landscaping and we're doing mulch, installations, renovations, pavers, patios, irrigation, so on and so forth. Perhaps that could be the evolution of things in the next 5, 10, 20 years. Because you're just, as you guys would probably agree, you're just not going to find robots to replace your landscaping. Knock on wood. I don't see that one coming just yet. Right. So I guess that's the point I got about automowers. Okay. The next one, battery handheld equipment. I think battery handheld equipment makes the most sense, that it's here, it's now, and it's happening. Like, for example, I'm across from my little sound panel wall here that I have just for ambiance to keep the sound down to a minimum in the garage. On the other shelf I have is all battery everything, right? My DeWalt tools, my Milwaukee tools, I got some Ryobi tools, all my Steel, Echo, Husqvarna. I have a little bit of battery of everything up there. Handheld blowers, handheld chainsaws. What else is handheld trimmers, handheld leaf blowers. We have not a handheld, but a backpack leaf blower. We have battery powered push mowers. At my mom's place, we have battery powered push mowers, trimmers, blowers, maybe an edger. I know a hedge trimmer, a chainsaw. Like, that stuff is here and that stuff is awesome. I mean, I think that makes the most sense of where battery is at right now. The battery powered cutting saws and dustless saws that I see a lot of you guys using on job sites. Who would have thought 2, 5, 10 years ago, you wouldn't be running a power cord, pneumatic, air tools, and this would be powered off of battery powered equipment. I mean, Milwaukee and what they're doing with all the trades, like carpentry to painting to plumbing to electrical work, like they're deep into the trades, right? The stuff that they're coming out, if you ever watch their new product symposium and like their live streams and stuff, it's usually like June, July, August in the summer. It's actually pretty cool to see what they're doing with battery powered equipment. I think battery powered OPE hand tools are here. They're here to stay. And I think I would bet you right now, 1 out of 10 of you guys probably have something on your truck, rig, or trailer that's battery powered. I know we do. Our battery powered chainsaw Steel, I don't know, like 136 or 142. I don't even know what it is, right? It's like it's the second smallest battery powered chainsaw. It's still like $400. The thing's a beast. It's like my favorite tool to use for battery powered equipment. It is awesome. It doesn't bog down. It slices through anything. And it always starts as long as you got a fully charged battery, right? That goes back, I guess, full circle to number one. So I think battery powered handheld equipment is here to stay. The little bit of a bottleneck there with maybe charging it overnight, but I think where you can really not have to worry about that as much is having multiple batteries, right? Like DeWalt, for example, has a battery charging case, and they have like 6 deep cells that you can usually charge, or 4 deep cell batteries that you can charge all at once in the case. So you plug the case in and it charges each battery. Like if you had a DJI drone, they have like the rapid charging, station. It's got like a little strip, 3 different batteries, one charges, then the next charges, and so on and so forth. And so I could see that being the future with OP handheld tools, because you can buy one battery, or maybe your trimmer comes with a piece of, or one battery. And then for another $100 or $200, you can buy a secondary battery. And while one's charging, you're using one, and when you're using one, you're charging the other, right? And here's the thing too, this sounds more realistic, is that most trucks these days, 2 things. The companies can make a rapid charger based on the 12 volt cigarette lighter or whatever. And you can charge those. Like I have a Milwaukee M18 rapid charger. I think I can also do the M12 batteries on there as well. That's a rapid charger that we keep permanently plugged in, not permanently, but always plugged into the cigarette lighter on the back seat. So I always have an M18 battery on charge. I have the 9.0, and then I also cycle a 5.0 in my Milwaukee tool bag, right? So we always have a Milwaukee tool battery with us, and one's always charging and one is always on our impact. Now, we also have, on pretty much almost all new vehicles, new, like I'd say maybe 2016, 2017 and above, because my truck's a 2017 and it had it, which my truck's already 4 years old. It's getting older. And they all have the 110 plug on the dash, right? So if these companies can come out with a cigarette lighter rapid charger, or something that's 400 watt draw or less on the 110 for a work truck, right? Then you might have a banger and a winner for the battery powered hand tools, right? And that stuff is out there. It's happening. Like I said, the Milwaukee one, for example, if maybe you wanted to run Milwaukee trimmers, you could do that and have one charging, and a 9.0 battery would most likely last you for the day. A mower is going to have, 4, 6, 8, 10 hours of runtime per day. Handheld tools, I don't know. What do you guys think? On an 8-hour day, 8 to 4, you're probably running the trimmer, I don't know. I'd say 8 minutes per lawn. We do 30 lawns a day. It's 240 minutes. What is that? 4 hours of runtime. So that's pretty realistic. And if a battery can get you 5, 6, 8 hours, then you're good to go, right? You got enough to recharge overnight and not kind of like perpetually have the domino catch up with you going backwards on the decline, right? Where you're running out of juice. All right, let's go here really quick. Autonomous mowers. That's like the next one. I don't want to be a skeptic or critic or well, I am a skeptic, but I don't want to be a critic. But here's the thing, like without calling anybody out by name, because I don't want to bash anything that's going on out there with like these and there's no reason to bash. I'm just talking frankly. But if I just don't see it personally, and 5-10 years from now, somebody can replay this episode and say, Fullerton, you didn't have the vision, man. Mr. Visionary, Fullerton, Mr. Success, Mr. Motivation. You didn't see this one coming. Here's the thing I just don't get. These autonomous mowers, like the totally autonomous ones, where, again, you're going to have it on your property, you're going to roll up, and maybe you're going to trace the property, or maybe it's already been traced, right? Or you have a little, the Mosier, right? You outline the whole pool of property, right? Like you guys have seen these ads. And then you're gonna drop your right stander ZK on there. I said I wouldn't say names. It's nothing against right. I'm the Green Z guys, or you guys have all seen these different things. So and I'm not trying to be a butt. I'm just talking out loud. What do you guys think? You're gonna run this mower in somebody's backyard. They've got Nerf bullets. They've got the little Yorkie dog named Teacup. They've got little garden gnomes. They got a dog leash. They their kid left their their coloring book outside overnight. You got like some kids' socks because they got a trampoline. You've got a trampoline. You've got a sprinkler head that like didn't compress or didn't go down, right? You've got drip irrigation. You've got black diamond edging. You've got low spots. It got 4 inches of rain in 48 hours, and your mower doesn't know that. It gets stuck. I mean, I said this at Expo. There's no way you're going to have this autonomous mower go out and lay stripes and mow this backyard, and then all you got to do is trim and blow. I said, I'm just a skeptic. I think that's 10 years out. Now, I might be wrong. It might be out there 3 months from now. Yes, it might do baseball fields, but then what are you going to do when it sucks up a baseball, ejects the baseball out 300 feet away? That's the only thing hitting a home run on that little league field, and it goes into somebody's car, and what are you going to sue the... I just don't get it. Here's the other thing, and this sounds really bad, but what happens the first time, the first company, the first mower brand puts one of those things on a residential subdivision, and God forbid, little Fido runs out. He's a little wiener dog. The mower can't go, but the mower's only going to go 6, 8, 12 miles an hour. The little wiener dog is right out of Toy Story. He's slinking back and forth. He's gonna go 1 to 2 miles an hour. He's not gonna make it. This is not right. He's not gonna make it. Okay. And I forget the name of the slinky dog in Toy Story, but I don't want to see that guy get chopped up by Green Z's right ZK. Okay. I don't want the little Yorkie to be running. And I know this thing's got little battery or little sensors. And I know this thing's got a viewfinder. And I know it's got the little flare. It's got the little heads up display. But here's the thing. As somebody who paid a very large premium for the autopilot on his Tesla, and I'm a big Tesla fanboy, the Tesla autopilot is not there yet. Okay. It is not there yet. It does a really, really good job, actually. It's pretty dope. But it's like, 85, 90%. And you're like, well, 90% is pretty good. Not until your freaking right ZK or your Exmor turf tracer runs over the little wiener dog from Toy Story. Okay. And then you got to go knock. You thought it was bad having to knock on somebody's door and tell them that you shot a rock into their window and you're already like waiting to get chewed out. And that's going to cost you $1,000. What is the conversation? Do you think I'm going to be making a video 5 to 10 years from now, like 7 ways to disarm your customer after running over their dog with your autonomous mower? There's a thumbnail and a title. Well, I mean, there's a title. Lord knows what the thumbnail is going to be. It's messed up. It's messed up. This is unfiltered, by the way. Like, not every episode's this exciting, but I just don't think that's the first mower that has that issue, or the mower like goes AWOL. Okay, I was making fun on Instagram just like a week ago. Like, we have a Roomba, living like the 1% over here. we the little stupid like Roombas. It's the dumbest vacuum we've ever owned. It sucks. They're so bad. They're so dumb. They're so useless. Like, it never makes it back to the charging station. It gets stuck on the stupid drapes that my wife put on the windows. It gets stuck on the stupid cord that, brings the blinds up and down. It gets stuck on the stupid drapes that my wife hung down the corner of the beds. It gets stuck on everything. It gets stuck everywhere on everything everywhere. It sucks up anything, and it just literally stops. It rolls off the edge of the cliff of like the stairs. It gets stuck on the transition flaps on the doors. If you have one of these things, you guys know how stupid and useless these things are. And when they do work, they work, which is like 10% of the time. We named ours Rosie, and we get the little automated updates on our phone. It's like, Rosie stuck. Rosie didn't make it back. Rosie has error number 172. Something's jammed. And then you look at it, and it like ran over like a piece of cat poop, okay, or dog puke, or throw up, or dog crap. And you guys have seen these funny stories on like, or reels on TikTok and Instagram where like it goes through a pile of dog crap, and because it doesn't know better, it's just literally zipping up and down, like making lanes all through the house. So you're going to tell me that the same I'm a skeptic. Okay. If somebody has a Roomba, I just don't see your outdoor lawnmower being any less dumb. Okay. And you're like, oh, it's got sensors and it's got little whatevers. Yeah. Right. I that's just my personal opinion. I'm going on the record. I'm just saying, yeah, right. Now, maybe for a baseball field or some, MLB stadium or, some NASCAR speedway where there's not a thing in sight. Sure. You can go put your little dog invisible fence on there and mow that thing all day long. But I just don't see it. I just don't see the autonomous going that way. I see automowers going that way, the little Frisbees. I just don't see those. And I'm telling you what, let's look at this up really quick. Real time. Slinky Dog Toy Story. What was his name? His name was Slinky Dog is a fictional character. I don't know if he's got an actual name. Jim Varney was the voice actor. Slinky Dog. His name was Slink. Slinky. All right. So we haven't lost all credibility. I am shooting this podcast late night. If we haven't lost all credibility, I'm sure, don't worry about it. Hang tight. We'll get there. Okay. But the first mower that runs over Slink, that's going to make national headline news. And what do you think they're going to do about the auto mowers? Okay. They're just going to be black-eyed, blacklisted. Nobody's going to want them. The little Yorkie pup got ran over, a little Chihuahua, so on and so forth, right? You got 3 zero-turn lawnmower blades. Half you guys don't even trust an 18 to 25-year-old kid to take that zero-turn mower out and go out there and mow lawns. And now you think you're going to send a robot out there to go do it? I mean, here's the thing. Let me ask you guys this honest question. You see a Tesla that had autopilot engaged when it got in an accident, and whether somebody got hurt or didn't get hurt, how big is the headline about that Tesla on autopilot? How many news channels in the mainstream media bash that Tesla is unsafe, unfit, not ready? They shouldn't get passing of legislation for fully autonomous, right? You guys have seen it. I mean, you don't even have to be an EV junkie or in the market for an EV or anything like that to know that when a Tesla does something with autopilot on, right, there's always this huge investigation that they're unsafe and they're unreliable. Okay, like the same scrutiny is going to happen with your zero-turn mowers. Okay, so autonomous, I'm not there. I'm not a believer. Okay, charging, we kind of already talked about that in the first part. I think the biggest bottleneck for all this stuff is going to be charging. Okay, as somebody who has a EV, has a Tesla, charging is our biggest bottleneck. And if Liz worked a full-time job, there's no way we would have bought the Tesla. Okay. We have friends that live in Rhode Island. So you guys actually met them. Sean and Brittany, they're really cool couple friends of ours. You might've seen them on our Instagram or something, like on stories, hanging out, game nights. They have a Model 3 and they commute about an hour and a half a day to their jobs. They're in Rhode Island and a lot of driving over that area. So they couldn't get a Tesla Model 3 without a supercharger, or the level 2 charger they call it, which is the 220. They couldn't do it without a level 2 charger in their garage. There's just no way, right? They put 150 miles a day on their vehicle. Okay. And so they save a ton of money, by the way, compared to gas, right? Sean's wife, Brittany, she has to drive. Okay. She has to drive to her medical, very, very high profile job. Gets paid really well. She has to drive an hour plus hour and 20 minutes or something like that to the hospital. So it makes sense for them because they save a boatload charging the car on, pennies per hour at night. But if Liz and I tried if Sean and Brittany tried to do what Liz and I do with our 110, as you guys would imagine, you can connect the dots, it would just never work out. Okay. So that's where I'm just skeptical. Like, are you going to give me 12 hours of runtime, 8 hours of runtime? Is it going to take me 16 hours of charging time? And then even then, the 220? And then even then, is it really going to be worth the $10, $12, $15,000 premium on some of these mowers? Oh, well, Brian, the price will come down and all this other stuff, and we'll get some EV credits. Maybe. That I guess that just rolls into my last thing. Where I see it adopting is if you can really convince people that the savings is there up front. Not 2 years, not 5 years from now, the savings is going to be up front. Like, for example, Tesla did this. I think Lucid is going through this right now. Rivian, I think, is going to be going through this. If you can get people an incentive, like a tax credit, and I mean like a 1-to-1, like a tax credit, not a tax deduction. I mean like a credit. Then I think you have a chance to see some adoption. Like, for example, Tesla back in the day, what was it, guys? Like $7,500. So if you bought a $75,000 Tesla Model S back in 2015, 16, whatever it was, they would give you $7,500 credit. So a lot of wealthy people bought them to get a credit. Fantastic, right? They wanted a company vehicle and they wrote it off and they got a $7,500 credit. Then Tesla had to sell a certain amount of cars, and the Tesla federal tax credit, and there's also state credits too, by the way, though those credits went down to $3,750. And then by the time I was actually finally able to afford my car, there was no more incentives, state or federal, right? Because then it went down to $1,500 or whatever the last tier was, right? It got $1,750, maybe it got halved again. So if there was a federal or state incentive, or maybe even local, like city or something like that, you're cutting in a big metropolitan area, and there's some kind of an EV credit, and it was $2,000, $5,000, $7,500, and it took that 20. I'm just using examples. I'm not making any digs or pluses or minus, but let's say, because everybody knows Mean Green Mowers, right? Let's say that mower is $25,000 or $30,000, and somebody's going to give them a direct $5,000 credit or $7,500 credit. Like, well, maybe you're talking, but that's got to get. I'm not a big fan of that because it's got to be subsidized from taxpayers, right, in one way, shape, or form. And I just don't know if that's the role of the federal government to be providing federal EV taxes for credits for lawnmowers. Like, the irony is, like, you guys banned, gas-powered equipment in 2024 or whatever in California, and then you're going to incentivize people to run battery, which it's going to cost. Dude, I'm not even going to get into it. You guys already know, like, the stupidity of, like, the benefit cost benefit analysis here. Like, they're robbing Peter to pay Paul. It's all the same nonsense. It's like, just leave people alone. That's what you need to do. You need to get the federal government just needs to get out of everybody's hair and let people produce and just go win any which way. So that's where my attitude is. I think there's a market for it. I was talking with Logan Manning. It's late night, but I'm pretty sure it was Logan Manning with Earth Advocate, and he made some really great points on a podcast we did maybe 6-8 weeks ago. Hey, maybe you want to market to the greenies. Maybe you want to market to the upper class neighborhoods. Maybe you want to market the perks of running an all EV rig and equipment to the old folks home. There's a place like a couple miles down the road from us. It's called Fox Run, super high end, super wealthy spot. You have to have like $300,000-$400,000 to buy a condo there. It's an old folks retirement place. If you had all EV equipment there, you could start at 6, 7, 8 in the morning. It's not like super loud equipment, right? And there's not gas and mowers running around all like making loud noise pollution. I could see some of those EV pieces of equipment catching on in those certain right environments. Rural America or subdivision America. I heard Bedell and Paul talking about this on the episode, I think, with Jobber. Just kidding, because the whole episode was with Mike just dropping Jobber every 5 minutes, which was awesome. Jobber. But Bedell said something really interesting. He said, yeah, like his, and I know right where he's talking about, because it's right down the road from us too, in Franklin, Michigan, super like rich old wealthy spot in West Bloomfield. So those people were like, the town was like, yeah, we're going to like make all these EV mandates and no gas powered equipment before 8 a.m. and after 4 p.m. and, EV everything. If there's a comparable, whatever, it's got to be electric. And Bedell was like talking to the board or the customers, or maybe you went to a hearing. I don't know. But he made a great point. It's like, sure, we can do that for you. And the people are like, awesome. And he's like, but I'll just let you guys know really quickly what you're looking to get done. Everything you're looking to get done is probably going to be triple to quadruple the price. And the people are like, wait, what? And he goes, yeah, like, no, we'll get you an EV or electric or a battery comparison, comparable, whatever. But it's going to be 3 to 4x because the battery stuff costs more. Charge times, charging is expensive. I got to get solar panels now on my trailer or my truck. We've got to do all this different stuff. We've got to retrain people to use, maybe battery powered whatever's. It's just the crazy cost, right? It's the crazy cost to running all this battery powered stuff. Like the Tesla, it's a cool car, but it's a premium vehicle, right? Like I know we're paying extra for this EV vehicle. I think it's a great value still, but it's still an expensive vehicle right now, right? Like hopefully this car will be worth or cost less over time as Tesla, can get their costs down, obviously, right? But battery is still new. But are these people willing to pay a 2, 3, 4x cost for their mowing? I just don't see it. So the irony is like all these Karens running around trying to get rid of EV stuff and gas powered mowers and equipment. I'm sorry. Are those people willing to actually pony up with their pocketbook? I firmly believe the answer is no. I think a very, very vocal minority says yes. The woke people that want to, have battery powered equipment and battery powered contractors on their property. Sure. But it's just not going to be sustainable where you're going to have a majority of the, and I'm not an old dog that you can't teach new tricks. I'm just calling a spade, calling out what I see across the country. I just don't see that many people demanding battery and wanting to pay a triple or a double for whatever service they're getting just because somebody's not putting out a little CO2, right? And I mean, people can talk all day long, but all I hear is blah, 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 right? Like Greta Thunberg, right? Like our hero for the greenies, you know? Any which way, that's where I'm at, all right? Battery power equipment. I like it. I really do think it has promise. And I mean that sincerely, and I mean that genuinely. Like, if you really think about it, like, it has nothing but upside. Are we going to get there in the next 2, 5, 10 years? That's the question I have for you guys, right? I'm going to maybe try to drop this post as like an Instagram or something, Instagram post, and let me know what you guys think. Like, is battery here? Is battery here to stay? Do you guys see autonomous mowers zipping around and you're just trimming and blowing? Do you guys see auto mowers running around like little Frisbees? I think that's more realistic personally. That whether contractors install them and maintain, and then they just trim and blow, at the different universities and all that mess. I think that can be a real thing. Can homeowners buy it, and can homeowners get it installed, or are we going to be the installers, right? Are we going to have to change? Are we going to have to grow? Are we going to have to change our business to, we install auto mowers and we also do landscaping, right? Like, our services on our postcards are going to say mulch, pruning, irrigation startup and blowout, and auto mower installation, right? It's not going to say mowing, cut, trim, blow, edge. It's going to say auto mower installation, and then you're going to be certified in 3 out of the 4 brands, or 2 out of the 3 brands, or you're going to be certified with your one brand. Like, that seems more realistic to me than anything else I've heard proposed out there, right? And if they can also figure out the charging, like the little auto mowers, the best thing about them, they're tiny. They don't need to support a 200-pound dude, zipping around for 8 hours a day, right? Carrying, 1,500 pounds of equipment like Caleb talks about. That's true. Little auto mowers, they weigh 30 pounds, 50 pounds, and they can have a, little battery pack in there, like a little Roomba, little iRobot Roombas, and they're good to go. Those things can charge in 2, 4, 6 hours overnight, right? So I don't know, man. It's an interesting conversation, and one that I think is just getting started, because what I saw at GI Plus Expo, and if you guys were there, you can relate to what I'm talking about. Again, I don't think there was a single brand there, from the mowers and the manufacturers to the engine makers, that didn't have battery powered something at their booth. Right. And 2 to 4 or 5 years ago, I would have laughed. Now I'm like, ooh, this is different. This is different. And it's just a different feel, a different vibe out there. And I think it's one that we should all keep an open mind to. And, here's the thing. No matter the adversity, there's always a seed of equal or greater benefit. Right? Period, case closed. That's a success one out of Think and Grow Rich and Master Key to Riches. No matter the adversity, there's always a seed of equal or greater benefit. Right? So no matter what happens, no matter what the landscape looks like in 2, 5, 10 years, they're taking our jobs, right? That whole thing. There's always a seed of equal or greater benefit, right? So the number one skill, in my opinion, is the ability to adapt as an entrepreneur. So I don't know what the landscape of landscaping looks like in 10 years, but I bet you battery will have a significant role in it. All right. That's what I got for you guys in today's episode. Thanks for giving me a little slack, a little hang loose, a little flexibility here today. Launchpreneur Academy tickets, those are going down tonight at 7 p.m. So if you guys are listening to this and you want to get your ticket for LAL 2021, that's it, man. That's all she wrote. Tickets are done at 7 p.m. tonight. We're at like 310 tickets, and we are, if we sell a couple more, awesome. But guys, it is going to be awesome. I'm telling you what, we got so much stuff lined up. Don't miss our live event, November 13th, Saturday. It's coming up. The Hampton Inn Hotel is your last chance to get a room over there. They just got king beds left. We've sold out the 3rd hotel. Okay, like for real. So we sold out 3 hotels. That's crazy. Somebody's like, "Hey, dude, what does it feel like selling out hotels?" I'm like, it's kind of different. It's kind of weird. But I said we're just getting started, because we're gonna go sell out Little Caesars Arena. Okay, one day we're gonna have the blue collar, conference. I don't know if it's gonna be called Launchpreneur Academy forever, right? We might change the name. Who knows? Like, we're always changing and growing, and we're always spitballing ideas behind the scenes. But how cool would it be to fill up the lower bowl at Little Caesars Arena, and we have 8,000 contractors across the country, and we can bring in some really good, speakers, some really good folks. We can bring in a keynote like a Mike Rowe. Okay, we're just getting started, folks. Like, it is so exciting what's going on. But battery power equipment, guys, that was my conversation today. Do me a big favor. 2 things. One, share this podcast episode and tag me on it on Instagram if you guys don't mind, and leave me a couple, like a quick sentence, what your thoughts or opinion is about battery in the next few years. Anything you want to rebuttal or challenge or give your opinion on about what I shared on this episode. I'd love to hear the conversation, and I'll repost those on Instagram. And then again, If you guys haven't left a 5-star rating or review, we really do appreciate when you guys do that. My goal by the end of the year is to get to 1,000 reviews and ratings. It really helps the podcast with some social proofing. So when people are discovering green industry podcasts, they find ours and they see 900 reviews. Like, this must have some credibility. This must look pretty legit. If you guys have ever gotten anything out of it, that's the only thing I request from you guys. Just as a friend, just as a favor, could you hit 5 stars and leave us a couple sentence review? Here's the deal. You guys have been, and I want to say a huge thank you. We're at 900, I think like 30 or 940 ratings and reviews. And my goal is to get to 1,000 by the end of the year. Okay. We got 6-7 weeks to kind of button that up. If a tenth of you, if 100th of you that are listening to the show daily went over and just hit 5 stars and left a rating, we would be there by the end of the day. Okay, that's what you guys got the power to do. Thank you so much for all of you that have in the past. For real, high five. If you guys are new or you haven't done it, or you're like, man, he's always begging to do that, maybe I should do it once. Yes, this is your call today to please leave that 5-star rating and review. And if not for me, definitely Marty, Mr. Producer, right? All right, guys, that's what I got on today's episode. Short and sweet, 1 hour and 3 minutes. I don't know where we get it, man. We're just all fired up about lawn care and cutting grass. You know, like, I think, what was it, like Hank Hill? He's like, why would anybody ever do drugs when all they can do is go mow some fresh grass? That's kind of my people. So, all right, over and out, guys. You guys have a great rest of the day and pray for me to find a truck. That's what I got. Over and out. Have a great day. Bye.
Entrepreneur Academy Live 2021 is going to be the biggest and best one yet. And we want to see you Saturday, November 13th in Novi, Michigan. Join hundreds of entrepreneurs just like yourself who are looking to crush it in their business and make 2022 the most profitable year ever. This year's speakers are a who's who of the industry. Greg Whitstock, Corey Ballard, Keith Kalfas, Mark Parker, Caleb and Brittany Almond, Paver Pete, Brian and Liz Fullerton, and Jeff Joyner. Entrepreneur Academy Live 2021 is a powerful and inspiring all-day conference designed to help you take your business to the next level. And it's brought to you by Xmark, RedMax, SureTrack Trailers, and Yardbook. If you make it to town Friday, November the 12th, you're invited to hang out, network, and have a blast at the Full Throttle Adrenaline Park, brought to you by Toro's Horizon 360. Come ride endless laps on the high-powered go-karts, play virtual reality games, and win great prizes. Excited about bringing your spouse to the event? Discounted spouse tickets are available. Excited about bringing your whole crew? Group discounts of 4 or more also available. Do whatever you have to do to make it to Entrepreneur Academy Live 2021 and grab your tickets before they're sold out. Tickets will go fast, so if you'd like to get more information, visit us at LawnTrepreneurAcademy.com or use the link in the show description and follow along with the hashtag LAL2021.
Thanks for taking the time to listen to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast with Brian Fullerton. We hope you enjoyed this production. If so, please consider leaving us a 5-star review for the show. While the techniques and ideas presented here are designed to help you grow a more successful and profitable business, no one can guarantee these results for you. We want to emphasize that entrepreneurship is not easy, and the ideas presented here are just the opinions of Brian Fullerton and his respective guests. No one can guarantee success for you. That being said, we hope the ideas presented here help you and motivate you to go on out there and crush it with your own business.
Fullerton Unfiltered Podcast.
Thanks for listening, and we hope to see you on the next episode.
This has been a Brian Fullerton and Mr. Producer production.